Starscream Kills presents in a Geeky Guy production.
Now, Wizards, to their credit, has spent actually years researching and devising these psychographic profiles, which comes out of the world of advertisement. And they use this really intuitively and just really well in designing their cards in order to appeal to a vast demographic of people. So if we understand our demographic and what makes us tick in playing Magic, this is going to help us pick certain cards and stay away from others, because even though they may be the wisdom, if they're not us, then we can avoid them and we'll spend a lot less money on this hobby. So the first one that I want to talk about is Johnny, and I chose the caterpillar because the caterpillar centipede character here for Johnny, all his legs got to work together, and that's what Johnny Combo Player is all about. Now, Johnny Combo is the most common type of Johnny that is known. Johnny is concerned about the experience and interaction of all the different Magic cards. And so the most common combo Johnny is Combo Johnny, in which Combo Johnny's looking for that interaction of a couple of unique cards that no one quite has discovered yet. Deck design is numero uno for Johnny. Now, there are other subtypes within Johnny as well, and it's important not to take this in a rigid way. Another type is the offbeat designer Johnny. This Johnny is looking for explicitly that combo that no one has ever thought of nor would dream of using these cards. They're trying to find a way to make Zathra Demon just rule the meta. Another type of Johnny is actually more of an artistic Johnny, because all Johnnies are looking for their decks as a personal form of expression of self. When you critique Johnny's deck, Johnny is feeling threatened. It's like telling a woman that her baby is ugly and stupid, and it's personally insulting. It's the same thing for Johnny. Johnny's deck is his baby, and by the way, Johnnies can be women. This is just a subtype. The last is the stubborn or uber Johnny, and this one, you tell them that the Nightmare is a stupid card, and they're going to prove you wrong by coming up with a deck design all around the Nightmare that is going to make you look dumb, or at least that's their point. And so Johnnies are people that are very interested in deck construction and the interaction of the cards as a form of self-expression. So maybe note that part of Johnny in yourself, but rather is it a main salient theme or a sub-theme or maybe back burner part of you? Because remember, we have a little bit of all of these within ourselves. The next subtype that I'd like to talk about that came out from Wizards is Timmy. Now, the reason I use the lamb from Timmy is not because Timmys are lambs, but because it's soft and touchy-feely, and that's an experience. That's what Timmy is all about. Timmy gets a bad rap for being Timmy Power Player, but that's not what it's about. Timmy likes to whip out the fatties because it's really fun experience for Timmy to whip those big critters out. Timmy comes in many types and stripes. There's Power Gamer Timmy, like sometimes there's a truth to a stereotype, right? But also there is Social Gamer Timmy, who enjoys playing with like a clique at lunch at their workplace. There's Diversity Gamer Timmy, who likes the new Planeswalk edition, where now we get to roll a die and go to different planes, and so you got to consider your Planeswalk deck plus your regular deck, and if that's extended, and if it's extended, we would just have 2 of any card, so you can only count on 2 of any card and 60 card. So see, that's more of a thing like that. So Timmys might also be concerned about, gee, maybe I don't want to play the landfall deck because it won't be a happy experience for my social aspect of getting along with the gamers in my meta. And so that would be a Timmy consideration, and a Timmy player, even though most people think Timmy would love this deck because, after all, Timmy's a power player. Not always so. Then, also there are Timmys that are adrenaline junkies. And these Timmys would not like that game that I had against the mono green deck where I stomped them. They want one where, like, man, I had, like, it was over and I had, like, 5 life and I just was a top draw, and if it weren't for that card, man. That's a Timmy. Again, soft, touchy-feely experience. That's what Timmy's about. The experience of playing the game. So do you have a Timmy that's mainly in you? Or, again, is it maybe more back burner? Maybe you're more of Johnny with a Timmy? It could be. Or something else. Now, there is a type that likes a total beatdown, and that's going to be our next one. And remember, ladies, you can be a Timmy too. The next type that Wizards came out with is Spike. Spike, I chose the lion because, like the king of the jungle, Spike wants to be the king of his meta, or her meta. What Spike wants to do in a nutshell is dominate and win. As Johnny wishes to express himself through his deck, and Timmy wants to feel something through the game, Spike is out to prove something with their play. And so, the first type of Spike is the innovator. Spike, the innovator, wants to find the next broken card. Spike was the person that began the snake hype with Lotus Cobra, because Spike was looking to make the next broken deck. Spike's the one that looks at the Rubin Zoo and goes, how did Kibler win with that? Because he thinks there are other more innovative, destructive decks out there. Now, the next group of Spike is the tuners. After the innovators have looked for the next broken cards to make the next broken deck, the tuners take this broken deck and then they tune it to get it to be even more powerful and more dominant. And this is essentially what the mono-green player was accusing me of, which was tuning a Spike deck, which, with mono-black vampire MBV deck, that may not be too far off. The designer of this is a Melvin Spike, or Spike Melvin, so that may not be too unfair of a charge, because I did do a little tune of it. So even though I am not a Spike, I may have done a Spike-like thing. Not intended. Spike also then has another layer down in which you have the analysts. And the analysts consider domination, but not domination in a vacuum. Domination within their own meta. So they're going to look around. And so if everybody's playing MVV, then they might run a core or a white weenie deck because of all the pro-black, and that way they can shut down their own meta. They're looking at dominating within a certain context. Then there's sort of the last type of Spikes, and they're the nuts and bolts. The nuts and bolts Spikes believe that they can sort of arrive at this Zen-like ability of having flawless game play. And so they work at themselves to have just impeccable techniques, such as first round duress, have a notepad in hand, and then write down all the other 6 cards that their opponent has in their hand, and then scratch them off as they play. I have seen that happen. There is one thing I think maybe with confirming a life total with an opponent. It's another thing to be tracking their cards or almost counting their cards like you're in a Las Vegas casino. But nonetheless, because I'm not a Spike, I don't get into it. But Spike sure does. So that's what it is for Spike. Do you have a Spike in you? It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just recognizing who you are. And that's okay.